He's here, and I am so excited to be here with you all today. And I have a very special guest. This is actually my first time interviewing someone, so it's really exciting that I'm interviewing this particular individual because Rebbecah is such a badass. You guys are going to love her. And just a little bit of background. So I know Rebbecah from my town, my small town in Frederick, Maryland. We kind of run through some of the same social circle, and she practices yoga in the studio that I practice and teach at. And so that's how we got connected. And I've learned in the past year that she's been up to some really incredible things all the way in Thailand. And so I wanted to connect with her and see her story and see what she was doing. And it's an incredible story. She's doing amazing, really big things. And so I wanted to share her story with you all today to inspire you to see that, there are so many incredible individuals out there that are doing such amazing stuff. And if they can do it, we can do it. There is no such thing as having desires without also having the ability to fulfill those desires. So Rebbecah is a true testament to that. She wanted something and she went and made it happen. So this is not about me, and I want to stop talking, and I want to introduce all of you to Rebbecah. Hey, girl, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, I think 13 hours ahead of you, but yeah, we're doing really good here in Chiang Mai, Thailand.
So you're in Tomorrowland. What's it like tomorrow?
In the future, everything looks very well. Actually, it's dark now, but it was bright and sunny today. So,
Oh, good. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
okay, so lots of things, I guess, but I moved to Chiang Mai, Thailand, about 2 years ago, and have been pretty busy since then with really getting our nonprofit Yoga More up off of the ground. And we run yoga retreats that involve volunteerism. And so our work here in Thailand is that we set up free medical clinics, and we work with a lot of kids in the hill tribes and girls that have been at risk from being trafficked. Working with children is definitely a passion of mine, and also volunteerism, I think, is a big part of should be everybody's yoga practice. So we like to provide opportunities for anybody really to come on a retreat with us and to give back a little bit and to experience Thailand through maybe a not such traditional way, and to be able to leave a little mark on themselves here as well. And then I also do a few other things here. Number one is I'm a new mom, so that keeps me on my toes a lot. And we have some Airbnb things that we rent out and kind of live a patchwork life together, but every little piece of the patch is definitely part of the passion too. So I feel very fortunate.
So how did you end up in Thailand?
Let's see, I came here for the first time, I think when I was 20 years old, and my cousins had been in the Peace Corps here. And so a lot of people in my family had always just told stories about here and what it was like for them, and I was really interested in it. And I hadn't really done any traveling before, so I decided I would start on the furthest place from home and maybe work my way back through the globe. And I mostly have just kept coming to the furthest place on the globe from home. So I think we're like almost exactly halfway, Chiang Mai in Maryland. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful place. And I guess through Yoga More, I kept coming back every year and spending a few more months, and slowly became feeling more and more at home here. And it was like, I think over the last, or before I moved here, I was spending almost half of my year in Asia, either in Thailand or in India, working with our projects. And it was really a drastic transition between going back and forth between the States and being here. And I started to feel more and more home every time I was here. And I really wanted to see if there was ever a possibility of me coming here and staying here full time. It was a scary leap to take, but I'm really glad I did it. There's been a lot of like bumps and bruises along the way, but every day, the more and more I get deeper into it, I know that this has been the right decision for me. So.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing work that you're doing out there. So what inspired you to start a nonprofit rather than just, enjoy Thailand and, go to the beautiful beaches? Like, why did you decide that it was your mission to actually start this nonprofit and to actually support these women and children in Thailand?
Well, in all honesty, it's kind of is twofold. So one, I think it was about 4.5 years ago, I spent a summer volunteering in India. And I did that through another nonprofit organization. And it was a really amazing, eye-opening experience. I saw that there was maybe some ways that I felt like my time could have been better used. And even though it was a really great organization, it was also a very large-scale organization, so I felt a little bit lost in the shuffle of things. And I had just thought, and I talked with my friend Jeannie Donnelly, who is also the co-founder of Yoga More. We were talking about how yoga lends itself so well to volunteerism, and maybe something grassroots and just concentrating on just a few smaller projects, maybe we would be able to make more of an impact. And while I was in India, it was a tough time, a tough summer. And since I had already been in Thailand before, instead of traveling all the way back to the States, I decided to take a little break and just come to Thailand and have a little reprieve here. And it was like once you started to pull that string, just more and more and more started happening. So I had just started talking to some people about my experience and that I had been in India volunteering, and I would love to maybe bring people back there or try to incorporate it into my life. And at the same time, I also was falling more and more in love in Thailand. And I had a friend, Melissa, who had founded a nonprofit here. And she was like, why don't you just incorporate Thailand into the mix too? And she took me to go to one of the villages that we still actually now work with. We have 87 children in this one hill tribe that we've worked with since the beginning. And
Wow.
yeah, it just was crazy. It was like, you would think that organizing something like that in Thailand would be so difficult, but it was like as soon as I opened myself up to it, all just started falling into place. And really, it's been that way ever since. I mean, it hasn't gone completely smoothly, but for the most part, it's been on a steady up. And a lot has to do with the fact that we have volunteers from all over, and everybody has different ideas and different parts of passion that they can bring into the lineup of ideas, and they can take a look around and say, okay, maybe this and this is missing, or maybe I could fill in here. And it's really just grown and been a more grassroots collective, which is what our original idea has been. So we've been really fortunate to just come across some really amazing people too.
That's amazing. And I love what you said. You said when you opened yourself up to it, things just started happening. And I love that because I feel like that's so true in my life too. When we open ourselves up to the idea without even knowing the how, without knowing, those small pieces that we need to put together, but just opening ourselves up to the possibility, we give, the universe, God, whatever, that external force, the ability to work its magic and to actually put things together for us. So that's really cool that you found that in your path.
Yeah, and sometimes, I mean, I think as soon as you really do open yourself up truly to something, it does come around, especially if it's something that's meant to be,
Yeah.
And sometimes you think that you want something and it doesn't quite work, but then when you look back at that, you're like, I don't think actually that was right, or I don't think that was really where I wanted to head in. I just was like tricking myself or something. So, yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, what were your biggest fears, or maybe some fears that are still coming up for you when you were taking this huge leap and moving across the world and, establishing yourself in this new area?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of things to be scared about. One thing I will say that I'm really glad that I did is once I made the decision that I wanted to do it, I jumped off and kind of put myself into a situation before I had a chance to overthink it, which for me, that has been a really good friend to me.
Yeah.
And I think if I had had the chance to overthink it too much, I definitely would be in a very different place today. I mean, the big concern was leaving your family and your comfort zone behind, you know, everything that's familiar, and saying goodbye to my family. And I didn't really know exactly when the next time I was going to be back was. I've been pretty lucky. I've gone to see my family once, and people have been over here. But also your financial stability. That was like my big issue. Just knowing that I knew how to take care of myself in the States. I knew what my career was. And I actually did really love my life there, but it didn't fill me in the way that I kept having this itch for. So it wasn't like, I think a lot of people have a story where they're just like completely dissatisfied and make a drastic change, you know, and that definitely wasn't the case. Like I loved Frederick, I loved my job, but it just, something just was missing the mark for me. So I think it was kind of a big mental hurdle to get over, to say, okay, I'm going to take the leap, even though everything is kind of fine, it actually kind of wasn't fine at the same time, you know? So
Yeah.
I think those two were the biggest things.
Yeah, so that's really interesting. I love that. Let's explore that a little bit more. So you felt that you were okay, and that everything was going okay, and yet there was a deeper calling that was, you know, pushing you forward. So how did you know to listen to that calling? How did you know that that may be something that you should answer as opposed to just a fleeting thought that everyone has?
Yeah. Okay. That's a hard question to answer. I think the voice was there for a really long time, and I kept trying to push it down and trying to push it down. And I would find different things that would get me excited and passionate, but they would be it wouldn't be so sustainable. They wouldn't be things that would last for very long, you know? And I think my voice just kept getting louder and louder until it was like, you gotta do something about this or you're gonna really regret it for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And I mean, it really helped that where I wanted to be and what part of the world I wanted to live in, and the fact that I wanted to try something out abroad. I also had the passion of volunteering at the same time, and I had a community that was open to it, so I was really able to like weave everything together, and it just seemed silly not to give it a try, at least give it a go. You know, I think that you're always able to pick up things and put life back together for the most part if you want to try something else on for a little while. So I just really had to absorb that into my brain and, yeah, take a risk, jump off.
Yeah, that's amazing. I call that like saying yes to your adventure, and that's amazing that you did that. And you also mentioned something that I want to tap into too, in this idea of finances. I know that that holds a lot of people back, is not having clear finances or not knowing how the money is going to come in the future. I personally am a planner. I like knowing exactly where my money is going to come in and the dates and the times. And I have an Excel spreadsheet with all my expenses and all that good stuff. And I found that although that's helpful for the majority of my life, when it comes to making big life-changing decisions, it should not be based on money, because the money will come. But if we, you know, look at only money as a determinant of whether or not we're going to follow our passion or not, we end up kind of burning ourselves out and rejecting ourselves. So I'm curious what your experience with that was and how you decided to take that leap, even though the finances and the security may not have been there.
Yeah, I mean, I think no matter what, even if we convince ourselves that you're financially secure now, anything could change at any moment, you know? And I think it was more about just realizing that if I didn't try this, that I would absolutely never know if I could make something of it, if I could make something sustainable of it. And it was a really big ready to jump off of the side of the cliff and you knew exactly how everything was going to be. But at the same time, I mean, like I said before, anything could happen at any minute. Even with my security in America, I had no idea if that was real. It's just really in your mind what you make yourself convinced of and what you make yourself believe that, okay, everything's going to be fine if I just stay on this path. But really, we don't know. We're only in control of ourselves. We have no idea what will happen from day to day. So all we can do is pursue what we want to do, right?
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, that type of understanding and then acting upon that understanding, which is that, life is insecure. Security is only an idea that we have in our lives. It's not actually reality. In reality, nothing is secure. And if we're living our lives based on this false sense of security, we're really cutting our own lifeline. We're cutting our own vitality. That is our desires and pursuing that desire. So that's amazing, lady. So what advice would you give someone that's thinking about taking a big leap?
Stop thinking, just do it. I know that's like a really tall order, but if and maybe not, the difference between something that's just an impulsive jump off and something that's like a deeper yearning from really listening to your heart, and just try to slow down whatever your brain is saying and listen to your heart a little bit more. I think we have a tendency, especially like after kind of stepping out of the Western world for a couple of years, is you can really see that our culture makes you just believe your brain a lot more than your heart so often. And I think finding a way to weave those together and really let them have an equal voice in whatever you play is the best thing that you can do to pursue what you're doing.
I love that. I love that. Okay, one more question for you. So you're doing a lot of activist work, and you're seeing again and again and again these circumstances that may be heartbreaking and that may be really challenging. And my question for you is, what do you do when it gets a little bit overwhelming? Like you may feel, that you're not making the big enough impact that you want to be making, or you may feel like no matter how many girls, you impact, there's a bazillion more just waiting for you. How do you kind of come back to a place of action rather than a place of overwhelm? Or do you even experience overwhelm?
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't think that you can do this line of work and not experience that overwhelming feeling in some way. But I think I try really hard not to think about what's waiting on the other side of the door, and just think about who's there right now, because I think we can all appreciate that we're an individual, and there's been somebody in everybody's life that's made a difference to them. And what if that person had just been too overwhelmed to be able to reach out to you at that point? And I also think it's pretty amazing that kids everywhere have a lot of the same priorities. So they just really want to have fun and be happy and feel excited and feel loved. And it's a really genuine, pure thing that they're desiring. And that alone kind of washes away all the seriousness too, the fact that we can have these really serious conversations and they can talk to me about maybe why their family had thought about selling them, or about that both of their parents have left to do some line of work that maybe is not so favorable, and they've been left behind in a village or something. But they will cry about it and they'll like wipe their tears off, and you see them go outside. And I think another amazing thing about children is that they really hold space for each other, and that those kids, like put their arms around each other and they'll let it out. I think we as adults really hold a lot back, and they process what they're going through, and then they just automatically go from that pain to that joy so quickly. And it's such a reminder to me in every way how amazing life really is, that we can hold and overcome something so quickly.
Yeah, they say that our emotions are only last in our body something like 50 seconds, something very short. And the perpetual emotion, like when we continue to feel angry all day, that's our thoughts perpetuating the emotion and not actually the original emotion. So I love that you're seeing that in children, because I think that's so amazing how when you give space to that emotion and you allow yourself to feel it and cry and you have that space of support, you can just move through it and then find the joy on the other side. So that's really amazing.
Yeah, yeah, and you just see so much strength in their actions through that,
Yeah.
that I just don't think that it leaves you much space to want to be overwhelmed. You know, you really can like ride the waves of their strength,
Yeah.
which is
Awesome,
very,
awesome. I am so happy that we connected, and I love what you're doing out there in the world, and I would love for everyone that's listening and watching to know how to connect with you, how they can support your cause, you know, what's happening in your life and in your business right now, just any way that they can reach out to you.
Sure. Okay, so our website is Yogamore, which is YOGAMOUR, like amore, like love, .org. And I also have a blog called Lead with Your Heart Blogspot. So yeah, I would love for anybody to connect with me through either one of those. I think my email address and my number and everything is on both of those sites, and we have our next retreat coming up in June here in Thailand, and then we're also hosting a charity retreat coming up in August in the south of France, and part of the proceeds go to here. So yeah, so we would love to see any of you any of those places on any side of the globe.
Yes, yes, and I'll definitely type in those website addresses in the YouTube video so that people can easily click and access that. So that's cool. Awesome. Anything else? Anything that I did not ask you that you want to share, my lady?
No, I think that's pretty good. Thank you so much, Thais. I'm glad I was your first interview. So.
Yay! Well, I think that this was a success, and I just love your energy. I love your work. I'm so glad I could support it in any way possible. You'll definitely be seeing me in Thailand soon. So yeah, so if anyone has any questions of how they can support Rebbecah and Yoga more, go to her website. All the information is there. We can reach out to me, and I can forward you her information as well. And let's get this rolling, because you know what, guys? It's like saying yes to your adventure is just the most important thing you can do. Our desires are who we are, and when we can listen to our desires and act upon it, and just like Rebbecah said, not even overthink it, just act on it, the world will be at our feet, and we'll be able to make the change that we want to make and be in the world. All right, so much love to all of you. Namaste, and talk soon.